All right, hello. Okay, so I want to talk to you today about mindfulness. Okay, and so this is the first slide. And as you can see, it says mindful or mindful. So basically what it is saying is mindfulness is all about the mind and is how we perceive our world. And as you can see on one side, the person who has a very, very busy mind, and on the other side, the little girl has a relaxed mind when it's not full and it's beautiful and it's sunny and it has flowers. It basically is seeing where she is right now. She is in the moment, in her life, and enjoying it the way it is right now, instead of worrying about what happened, about what will happen, and having a busy mind and not enjoying your everyday life. So basically, mindfulness is something that brings you happiness. Okay, so overview of what I'm going to talk to you about for this first session. I want first to tell you about the benefit of mindfulness, and then what we tend to do when we struggle with everyday life, how our brain works. Number 4, what it means to pay attention. Okay, and lastly, we're going to do a little mindfulness practice for the first time. Okay, so if I continue. Okay, so what are the benefits of mindfulness? Why would people have a mindfulness practice? What are they aiming to gain from that? Well, as you can see here, there's loads and loads of reason why people practice mindfulness. And actually, some doctors prescribe mindfulness session to actually feel better. So we tend to think that if we are doing a mindfulness practice, it's because there's something wrong with us. But actually, that's not true. You don't need to be unwell. You don't need to be stressed and anxious to do mindfulness. Okay, mindfulness is an activity you do to practice feeling good every day. A bit like sport is to you don't imagine somebody ill doing or unwell doing sport. You have to be well to do sport. And mindfulness is the same. It's not a cure for anything. You don't have to be ill. It's something that makes you feel good about your life. And as a result, it improves your moods, it decreases your worry, it will make you feel better about yourself physically and mentally, it helps you having good relationship with others, etc., etc. Okay, so now let's look at what we do currently, most people who don't practice mindfulness, when something happens in their life and they feel they're struggling. So if you can hear the sound, because I can see that it's not very good, there's here I've put the link so you can watch it with better sound. But basically, what I wanted to talk to you about was the different emotion that actually Paul went through when he was talking to the master about his problem. The first thing he was doing when he arrived, he was comfort eating. He was trying to make himself feel better by eating things he likes. Then when he was asked what was wrong with him, he pretended that nothing was wrong. He was denying it. And then he's starting showing his despair and blaming himself and saying how awful he was compared to others. So he was angry with himself and other people as well, exaggerating, I'm the worst of the entire country of China, which obviously is not true. Then he was criticizing the way he was looking by touching his belly and okay, look how big I am. Yes, then he was comparing himself to others and saying how rubbish he was compared to others. And finally, he sat down in despair, just saying and imagining himself in the future going back to cooking noodles, dead-end job, nothing there, and feeling really sorry for himself. So all those emotions, and happens within seconds. It was only a couple of minutes of him talking, went through all those different emotions, and all adding to his pain. And as a lot of us react like that when things goes wrong. We don't know how to help ourselves to feel better. And that's what mindfulness comes in. And the master says that, quote, yesterday's history is true because you can't change the past. It's gone, finished, done with. So what's the point of dwelling about it? Okay. And then he's saying tomorrow is a mystery. So when he was talking about going back to cooking noodles, and he was imagining something awful, an awful future for himself. But actually, we don't know. We don't know what the future holds. We don't have to imagine things that are not nice. But today is a gift. And that's why he's saying that means present. The present time is where we actually live right now. Not about what happened yesterday or what will happen tomorrow. It hasn't happened yet. Our real happiness is to be found in the right moment. Now. Okay? And that's what mindfulness is teaching us, to focus on the now. Okay? So, third bit I want to tell you about is our brain. How do we focus on the now? How do we start living in the present moment? Okay, so that we can feel better. So, there's a few pictures here. So mindfulness is a brain training, okay, a bit like when you go to the gym and you're training the muscles in your arms, okay, you exercise them and they become bigger, okay, so that's what mindfulness is about, is the brain training. Okay, and we are under the idea that we're born a certain way. Okay, so we identify with our personality. We think we're a certain way, and we're not going to change. Okay, so some people saying, "Oh, I'm shy, and I'm going to stay shy," or I'm really clever, and I'm going to stay clever. But actually, what we've discovered in the last 20 years is, thanks to scans, machines that you scan your brain, we've discovered loads about our brain. And one of the things we've discovered is neuroplasticity. And we thought our brain was fixed, and that's what the way it was. But actually it's not. It's like any muscle in our body. It can be reduced if we're not using it, and it could increase if we're using it. So every part of our brain can be increased or reduced. And here I'm talking about the hippocampus that you can see there. And I've put a taxi driver there. And the link is, the hippocampus is responsible for memory, long-term memory. And they've put the brain of taxi drivers in the scans, and they've discovered that their hippocampus is much bigger than most people in the population. And the reason for that is a taxi driver has to take an exam and memorize all the name of the street of London. So obviously they have used their hippocampus a lot, and as a result is increased. And you can see here, that's what it says, 10 minutes of mindfulness practice a day can grow and measurably improve specific area of your brain by as much as 25% in 8 weeks. So if you want to become more patient, for example, okay, and you practice mindfulness, that's the area of the brain that is responsible for patience will increase. And the same with kindness, with empathy, with memory, creativity, all sorts of things that you want to improve in your brain. You can do it with mindfulness. Okay, let's continue. So, the first thing to increase when you practice mindfulness is your attention. Okay, if you're learning to pay attention, is step number 1 to increase your mindfulness. Okay, and attention normally has quite a negative connotation, because you hear your teacher saying, pay attention, listen. But it doesn't have to be something that is rigid and difficult to do. Attention is like, and that's what it says here, is aiming or pointing a torch, like you're aiming a torch at something. And by aiming your attention to something, it becomes bigger, it becomes brighter. Okay, so you imagine a torch and you're lighting something in a dark room. the rest will be dark, but what you're paying your attention to will become lighter. You can see it all of a sudden, okay? And that's what paying attention is. Okay, so we're going to do our first mindfulness practice. I'll remind you what we want to do. We want to train our mind to do basically what we want it to do, instead of being caught in our emotion like Poe was, going through all sorts of emotion and making us feel worse. We want to become our own boss. We want to become our own coach, okay, if you prefer. So the first thing we need to do is practice to pay attention, deciding I'm going to put my mind there, okay? So the way we do that is we're going to do our first mindfulness practice by learning to pay attention. So what I'm going to ask you to do is, for our first practice, because normally we imagine mindfulness practice as meditation and we have to sit cross-legged and go and close our eyes, etc. You don't have to do that, okay? What we're going to do today is we're going to try to use our hand to learn to pay attention. So all we're going to do is, yes, we're going to close our eyes in a second, okay? So, because when you close your eyes, you're focusing within. You're not distracted about what's going on outside. And what we want to do is we want to use a hand to focus on sensation in our fingers, okay? And to make the sensation more vivid, we're going to clap our hand. And then we're going to focus on the sensation that we feel in our fingers and our hands. And we're going to pay attention to that. So we are training our mind to pay attention to sensation in our hands. It's quite simple. And you're probably thinking right now, what's the point of that? Well, I did tell you what's the point of that. You're training your mind. So when you have emotion, difficult, negative emotion in your everyday life, you will feel the sensation in your body and they will alert you. I'm feeling sad. I'm feeling frustrated. I'm feeling irritated. I'm feeling hungry. I'm feeling thirsty. So you actually become aware, become mindful of how you're feeling. And that just needs practice. So we're going to do our first practice, okay? Right. So in a second, I'm going to ask you to clap like me. 1, 2, 3. And then just hold your hand like this. Then we're going to close our eyes and just focus on the sensation of our fingers. Okay, that's all you need to do. All right. Okay, let's go. And try to clap at the same time as me and quite hard, so the sensation of our fingers are quite vivid. All right? Okay, let's start. 1, 2, 3, and hold. And just close your eyes. So I would like you to just focus on the sensation of your hands, but from within, and just feel them. What do you feel? Hot or cold? Tingling sensation? Pins and needles? Pain? Comfort? What is it? And just try to be interested and curious. And feel the sensation slowly fading as time passes. Just follow the sensation, just pay attention to your hands. And if your mind wanders, just gently bring it back. Okay, now what I would like you to do is place your hands on your lap so you feel more comfortable and your arms are not getting tired. But we're going to continue focusing on our hands. I would like you now to pay attention to your thumbs. Without moving them, try to put your attention to your thumbs. Now move your attention to the fingers next to your thumbs. Still without moving them, can you feel those fingers without moving them? Just by putting your mind on there, focusing on them. Now move to the next fingers. And the next one. And now focus on your little fingers. And see if you can zoom in to the tip of the little fingers. So you're zooming in. And now I would like you to zoom out, so you focus on both hands. And now feel the contact of your hands on your legs. And now zoom out even further. Just get a sensation of just sitting. Your whole body sitting and feeling supported by the chair or the sofa or the bed, whatever you're sitting on. And just enjoy being still, sitting down comfortably in the present moment. Okay, and when you're ready, I would like you to open your eyes. Okay, so as you can see, mindfulness is not difficult, okay? It's very simple. You're just paying attention to here. We paid attention to our hand and our bodies and our fingers, and we were keeping still and just being interested. And you've got to remember that the aim of mindfulness is to get some sense of peace. The aim is not to stop the thoughts, but is to train your mind to do what you want it to do. So today we've trained it to focus on what we've decided to. So here was our fingers. And that is the first step. Okay, so I hope you've enjoyed this session, and you will have a go again for the second session when I will explain a bit more about how to have a mindfulness practice. Bye.